Yes, it's true. Another solo cast. So Chris, yeah, is tied up today. I'm not sure if it's pandemic related. There's just a employee shortage, and the funny thing about that is, it the company is very odd. It's as if McDonald's like didn't have someone to run the fryolator, and they're like, yeah, let's get one of those guys that does our TV commercials in and get him making the French fries. It doesn't make any sense like how they're filling positions, but it may be because they are because of immigration problems and things like that, entry restrictions. uh yeah, there may be some severe shortages, but it sounds terrible. And I've also heard that there's companies that are getting ready to really abuse people. Like once things open back up, they're gonna save money because there's the people kind of queued up and waiting to get back into Japan to work, like doing English teaching and stuff, and they're really gonna screw them with salaries and stuff. So we will see. Hey Matt, how's it going? Hey Miguel. Ah, yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, we got a homeworld discussion. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how Steamforged does with Dark Souls and I'm sorry, I'm off. I'm off. I'm talking RuneScape. Yeah, we'll have to see how the 2D20. That's right. That's Modiphius. The 2D20. Already, I'm off. I need Chris to keep me on track here. I've got my TTRPGs screwed up. Yeah, yeah. Modiphius has had that license for a while. They'd been talking about it for a while, and yeah, it's tricky because it really is some people's like best sci-fi PC game experience ever, because the story is really great, and the a very different take on kind of real-time strategy games and all that. So yeah, they I hope they know what they're messing with. But also, there's another story about RuneScape. So yeah, we'll see what happens to all this. Uh, yeah, so good to see everyone. Welcome to the live stream. So yeah, I'll cover a few topics without Chris and hopefully get some input. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to continue. Things are slacking off a bit as far as like infection numbers and things. So hopefully we'll be back to normal soon. I thought we had a chance this week, but Chris said, yeah, they're really shorthanded at the company, so they're asking asking a lot of their employees right now. So bear with me, only me, for a little while. I'll try to make this solo cast as minimal as possible. Yeah, right. Yeah, Miguel said to shed many tears during that game. Yeah, it's the story. I mean, I haven't played through the actual game, but I've watched a lot of like analysis and talking about the storyline and things, and it's really really an interesting setting. So there is room in there for an RPG, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to handle it. And from the quick start, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what era of the game they're in. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, very good sci-fi. And I can see, maybe with the popularity of the IP, I could see why Modiphius was tempted. All right. But yeah, nothing else gaming wise. Yeah, I've got a big, maybe tonight or tomorrow night, I'll do the big unboxing for the Nemesis sequel board game, which kind of takes place in a base, like a laboratory on Mars. So new miniatures and all that stuff. So it's a huge box though. So hopefully, hopefully I'm not gonna knock anything over trying to. That'd be great if I knocked camera equipment over and lights trying to get the thing open. It's gigantic. But I think it's good to open one of their shipping boxes live, because they have a really nice packing methods and stuff. It's always amazing, and even the boxes themselves, the board games for Awakened Realms always have everything goes back in the box. Like that's very rare for complicated miniature board games with a ton of tokens and cards and things. They really do a good job of planning the trays and inserts for their games. Yeah, everything that I've opened from them, I got easily back in the box, and that's pretty rare. Yeah, usually you're kind of screwed, and you're putting things in like the little compartment container covered trays and things from dollar stores, and trying to get everything back in. But they do a good job. So we'll see if that continues, and take a look at what those miniatures look like. And that's a fun game. If you've never played Nemesis, I think you can. I'm sure there's a version of it floating around for a tabletop simulator. It may be an official version, but if you've never played it, it's fun. It's just kind of like the Alien, maybe halfway between Alien and Aliens, with the different roles. But you've got a hidden agenda. You're a crew, so it's what they call semi cooperative, because you're working together to survive, but you have your own secret agenda. So it's Alien/Aliens with the serial numbers filed off. But the mechanics for the game are good. The sound, like kind of the blip and sound mechanics and stuff, work well to try not to attract attention. And I actually used those miniatures the first time I ran the Alien RPG. I just used their generic miniatures for to represent xenomorphs and things. So yeah, they're good, because a few people have the Alien license. I think Protos did Alien versus Predator, and there's a board game. There's an official Alien board game, but yeah, I only had a Nemesis, but they worked really well. All right, so let's get this started and keep discussion going from there. Yeah, so we'll get started for this week. So wow, episode 124. Oh, thanks. Yeah, my it's hard to find large coffee cups in yeah, I'm actually, oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. So I'm way too comfortable at home. I'm drinking coffee on stream and stuff. I usually, when it's Chris and I'm usually trying to not consume anything or make any weird mouth noises, but at home I'm too comfortable. All right. So let's get started, and I'll do a little audio to try to take the sound of the air out at the end. I'll do a little silence, but we'll do our headlines now. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy, and this week it's another solo cast. Chris is tied up with work, so we'll run through some topics and hit up Chris for some comments. I choose topics that I know will be a fun discussion for Chris, but it hasn't worked out, and it's related to all the things affecting the world and our supply chains and all that good stuff. So hopefully soon things will be back to normal. But yeah, schedule stuff is unpredictable, and it may end up we need to change the day of the week. I don't know, whatever makes it happen normally again, we'll try to get back to. But this week on the weekly, RuneScape tabletop RPG and board game, Alien RPG Cinematic Adventure, the third part of, I guess what they're calling a saga. Babies and Broadswords is a new segment I wanted to call Not the Greatest. We'll see how that goes. And Homeworld, 2D20 Quickstart from Modiphius. All right. So we'll start off with RuneScape. Yeah, so Steamforged Games announced that they've done a lot of IP board games recently, and they announced that they're going to be doing a Dark Souls. They've already had a board game released for Dark Souls with a lot of expansions, and they're going to do a tabletop RPG for Dark Souls, and they have some experience with tabletop because they did those epic event, or what are those called? Epic quests. The little sets, the kind of like a battle mat and miniatures. So they have epic encounters, sorry. So for 5e, they've been producing these kind of adventures in a box that have miniatures and a little battle mat to kind of, stage the combat and everything. So they have some experience, developing for at least 5e. And they are now going to be releasing. So if you don't know RuneScape, and not to be confused with RuneQuest, but RuneScape is one of the early MMOs. I think it's had a second iteration, and they tried to do a third. There was talk for a while of, I think, what it would have been a third kind of upgraded version of it, but that fell apart. I think maybe the funding or something fell apart for that. But it's an MMORPG from 2001. So this is, yeah, they have developed, 20 years of content for an MMO that they'll have to pull from for a tabletop. So it's the world of Galenor, and it's a collaboration between the original developer Jagex and Steamforged. So they're going to produce both a board game and a tabletop RPG. So yeah, their specialty is board games and miniatures and things. So there probably will be a lot of components, a lot of physical table components. And maybe that's kind of the idea, is if they produce them for the board game, people may buy the board game and the RPG, so that they have those things for the table. And if they're smart, like they did with Siege of the Citadel, they'll work out a system where they can show how they'll give you a guide to how you can use in the adventures for the tabletop RPG, how you can use the components from the board game. That was a good idea that Modiphius had. So we'll see. Yeah, it's 21-year history. So that's a lot to pull from as far as quests and characters and areas of this setting. So their board game will be 1 to 5 players, and it'll be quest-based campaigns set in the Galenor setting. I'm not saying that correctly. But Steamforged has already done, I mean, just about any video game you can think of. They've done a board game for. Chris and I actually went in together to back the Monster Hunter game that they did, just because they had everything, like all the miniatures were really well done, and the game itself looked like they handled the conversion kind of like they did with Dark Souls. They did a really good job of converting the mechanics of the game to something that you could play on the board, and then you've got all the plastic of all the enemies and classes and things from the game. But yeah, their array of everything is crazy. They have like a Devil May Cry and what is it, the Horizon Zero Dawn. Like there's a ton of if I'm saying that right, there's a ton of video game IPs that they've developed as board games. I was really surprised, like looking at, because I wanted to look at the page for RuneScape, and then I just took a look at their games, and they've done, I think, Resident Evil as well. So many video game IPs as board games. So, I mean, RuneQuest isn't, I'm sorry, I did it. RuneScape isn't visually, it's a 2000, low polygon looking MMO from that era. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe there is a lot of pre-production art and designs and things that they can pull from, also to populate the rule book itself with some interesting illustrations. But hopefully there's visually it will kind of ring true or look like the setting for people. And I guess that's the challenge with the board game as well, because things like video games already have, of course, all the production sketches and things that were done for characters and everything to pull from. So they have a kind of a design Bible and everything. And something like RuneScape, I'm not sure, what they're actually going to be using, and if they're going to kind of move away, because you can't really do something as simple that would be satisfying as what the original MMO looked like. So we'll see how that goes and where they actually get those resources. So before this comes out, we'll of course be seeing the how they handled Dark Souls as a tabletop RPG, and of course, and there is actually in the release it even said, the press release, it even said, and of course. So we need Chris here for this delivery, and of course they will be using the 5th edition rule set of the world's greatest RPG. So that may change, that may cool down any enthusiasm Chris had for it. And I didn't remember seeing that in Dark Souls. I hope their Dark Souls isn't just a 5e. It may be. It very well could be. Wow. I'll have to double check that if Dark Souls is 5e as well. But yeah, we'll see how that happens. And they're really cranking out the game IPs. So we'll see what what the results of that are like. I don't have any experience with RuneScape. Like the earliest RPGs I played were like Final Fantasy 11 and World of Warcraft. I didn't play any of the really early stuff. So we'll see what what that brings us. Another interesting release. This is only the release for this is just the spring, so we don't have a date yet. But the Alien RPG has revealed they're doing a new expansion called Heart of Darkness. And so Free League, of course, that produces the Alien role-playing game. This will be, just like before, a boxed standalone expansion for the game. So it can be played separately, and it's a cinematic adventure, which means it's kind of built like the films, where they're expecting, people to not survive. Like it's going to be a pretty grim and pretty brutal adventure, and the characters will have agendas and kind of motivations, secret from each other, and all be like working at cross purposes, and things may go very, very badly. But Heart of Darkness, and this follows the two previous. The first one that was actually, I think, the quickstart, or the preview adventure, the cinematic adventure you got if you pre-ordered Alien, which was Chariot of the Gods. And the follow-up to that was Destroyer of Worlds, which focused on colonial marines. And these are all being written by Andrew Isigaska, who did a great job. I mean, both of those first two, I was just amazed how well designed and written they were as adventures, because things clicked into place and players were looking at options that he had actually considered in the writing of the adventure. And it for me, I was surprised how much the campaign itself, or the adventure, didn't go off the rails so easily. And maybe because of how things were limited, space wise, and kind of what the characters' motivations were. But I was really running that first Chariot of the Gods. I was really impressed by how well it was written. So this new expansion is going to be for 3 to 5 players, plus the game mother. So it's Mother, the voice, the voice of the ship, is your game master. And of course, it'll be the same sort of, what they described in their release as a spiraling descent into soul-crushing madness. So if that sounds like a good time, then get on board. So it's going to have the same sort of components as the previous, at least the Destroyer of Worlds was a box set that included map, cards, handouts, and pre-generated characters. So to kind of maybe control the randomness, so it's not all like colonial marines facing ship repair problems or whatever. It's a selection of pre-gen characters that match the adventure really well. So then there's also handouts for any of the equipment. That's a great thing too that Free League doesn't. They're doing it now with most of their games. We saw that with just about everything. The One Ring and Twilight 2000 is equipment cards that are have the stats for the equipment on the back, and then you can just have those on the table next to you when you have them in your possession. And if you drop them or lose them, then you can physically just see that you don't have that weapon anymore. So that works good with the resource restricted, or kind of the a lot of the situations you have limited equipment, so it's good. And you can then when you're passing things back and forth or whatever between the players in kind of oh my god, please shoot this thing mode, it works really well. So the MSRP for that is $29.99 US, similar to what they've done before, but it's Free League, so it's going to be a nice components. And if you wait for it to get onto Amazon, you might get a little bit of other online retailers, you might get a little discount off of that. And of course, the either the core rule book or the boxed starter set are going to be needed to play it, because you'll need the full rules. This is just going to be the adventure. It won't be like what they did with the original Chariot of the Gods, where they had kind of a because it was their preview, they had abbreviated rules in it. This won't be the case. So more similar to Destroyer of Worlds, which we haven't gotten to the table yet. I mean, we had that. I got that in the midst of lockdown, so there was no chance to get that on a table. But perhaps Foundry. I'm thinking about, for Twilight 2000, getting a Foundry license, so we might have the opportunity to play that online at least. So we'll see. And this one this next item was completely for Chris, and it's a shame. We will have no reactions. But this was going to be a new segment I was thinking about called "Not the Greatest," meaning, not 5e, right? So anything that's not 5e, but it's not the greatest role-playing game in the world, and just some examples of other stuff that's out there. But this one just, I was so confused and kind of laughed at the whole premise of this. And so one of Chris's kind of pet peeves, and you may have seen that in previous discussions or games that we've played, is having a kid. So you have, in Alien, you have colonial marines and space truckers and, corp representatives. And then you have a kid, like a survivor kid. So you have like the Newt character from Aliens. And so Chris is always like, yeah, kids in danger, that's not fun. I mean, something like Tales from the Loop, where the idea is to play kids, that's not, because there's not kid death, really. So child endangerment in games is always a thing that, Chris is not down for. So I found an interesting twist on a fantasy RPG called Babies and Broadswords. So this is created. The lead creator is Jason Cassidy, and so he calls it a halfway between Dungeons and Dragons and Rugrats. So the players will be will be playing one of 6 adorable, and this is the stuff that killed me reading this description. Adorable classes, including Barbabians, Warwalks with a W, Sneaky Pants, which I guess would be rogues or thieves, Thortherners, which I'm sure are some sort of northerner, and Punchy Kickers, which may be monks or some sort of martial class. And anyhow, so quirks introduce character traits such as temper tantrums and throwing your toys. So things that your character may do, when stressed or in situation, maybe as aid to role playing. And so it is a D6 based system, so no D20s, but your stats for your characters will include adventurousness, cuteness, and precociousness. So between that and the character classes, I was like, I wouldn't even know what to do with this on the table. So so you've got perks and things to help boosting your die rolls and things, and you also I guess this would kind of lightens the blow. I guess this might get it past Chris's approval, but instead of critical wounds where you're losing limbs or eyes, you will suffer nothing more serious than ouchies, grumps, and tummy aches. And eventually, you will need to take a rest. You'll need to take a rest, so you'll be knocked out of a scene. So the setting for this will be exploring Lady Chastity's home for unwanted children and other heirs in judgment. So basically an orphanage. So you'll be a bunch of fantasy adventurers exploring an orphanage. And it will include, and we didn't get any names or previews of these, but I think that would have been too much for me. I don't think I could have gotten through this if we heard the names of all of the creatures. So 20 creatures and NPCs for kid-friendly encounters from their bestiary. Anyhow, so replacing the Dungeon Master, one more name change here. So replacing the Dungeon Master in Babies and Broadswords is the Sitter. So your game master is called the Sitter, who handles the big kid rules. So the pre-made there's pre-made campaign modules, 2 of those included in the core rules, and it's a rules light game produced by Even Footing Games. So it's available on DriveThruRPG digitally right now, and has some kind of wacky illustration to match the tone of the book. But this is one of those RPGs, and maybe kind of like My Little Pony or some of the other settings where it's like I wouldn't even know where to begin, like role playing these characters, and having to run something like this would be a bit of a challenge as well. And I think it would just tend towards people doing really annoying role playing, and everything would be adorable, and I wouldn't want to hear those kid voices for an entire session. Actually, I might change the rules to include more Warhammer Fantasy type injuries after hearing that baby role play for a while. But yes, I'll put a link. I'll put a link to this if you want to see what's going on. And also anything that I link to in the description that goes to DriveThruRPG or other sites, I'll indicate if it's an affiliate link or not, so you know if it's benefiting us. And if you'd like to support the cast, it's a great way if you're looking to buy, specifically something we mentioned or really anything. Clicking that affiliate link will keep that code in there while you're shopping. So please consider supporting us just by using those links. It costs nothing extra and gives us a little bit. And basically, it's credit that we use to buy more games to review. So that works really well. All right. So I really miss Chris for that one. I needed that face. I need a photo of that face so I can just pop that up on screen when that happens. All right, so let's move away from babies and broadswords and possibly upset Miguel a little bit discussing this. So Modiphius has now released a free quickstart for their Homeworld Revelations 2D20 RPG, which is coming in May. I believe the pre-order is set for May of this year. It's currently available through DriveThruRPG. It's a 68-page PDF that includes spaceship combat, and it will have pre-gen characters. So there's no character generation rules, just very basic stripped down rules for how to run the system. And so the description of this adventure is: join Mevith Sagerd on an archaeological expedition on the planet Karak. You and your team have been brought together to gather historical records and artifacts from the wreckage of the great ship, the Khar-Toba. However, you are far from the only interested party descending on the ruins at this point, and the race is on. Can you be the first to the prize? Well, there's only one way to find out. So, like I said, complete rules with hints and tips for the GM is included. A thrilling adventure. And I'm not sure if this is actually going to be the kind of inciting incident for the entire Homeworld series that you're playing out, because that's what they did with Dune. Like you're the kind of forward away team landing on Arrakis for the Atreides family. 5 pre-generated characters, and you'll get a taste of the infinite possibilities of Homeworld Revelations. So yeah, the if you don't know, the kind of inciting incident for Homeworld is the planet you start out in is this desert planet Karak, and they discover the wreckage of this ancient ship, and this is kind of set 100 years before like the events of the game. So they find this ancient ship, and on this ship is a tablet that's a map to a homeworld. And so using the technology from the wreckage of this ship, they develop a faster than light spaceship that can take them to what is their homeworld. So this is like a group of people. So it was basically tribes, kind of like Middle Eastern theme. I think they called them kiths, that were in conflict with each other, but this unified them in purpose to seek out their homeworld. And so they leave the planet to travel there. And the story gets much more interesting. I won't spoil anything if you haven't played the game. It's definitely worth checking out, especially if you like strategy games and you've never played it, because it's one of the earliest great space tactical games that people have just been imitating forever. But the way the story unfolds is very very interesting and very amazing. It's and complicated. So hopefully they will handle this well, and I think that's what they might be doing. This race to the ship is kind of setting up the discovery of the tablet. So I'm not sure if they can satisfy kind of the two audiences for this game: people that don't know Homeworld or the story or the setting at all, and have those mysteries and everything be revealed, and then also people that have played all of the games and have like a love for the whole drama that unfolded, and also the that setting itself, all the races and things that you encounter in that setting. So I don't know if having both of those kinds of players at the table is something that's going to be very easy to manage for a game master, and it'll really depend on how they handle the adventures, like how well the adventures are written, if they're keeping in mind both of those. So giving people, similar to something like Star Trek. So when we played Star Trek, we have people that are not Star Trek fans and people that have watched every episode of Next Generation and everything that's been ever on television since they were born. That's difficult because there's a lot of people, and especially if it's not the game master that's the Trekkie, then you have a lot of you have a lot of information coming from your players about why this is, or wow, that's interesting. They're fascinated by things in the adventure itself. So we'll see what happens as they release this, and kind of what the fan reaction is. And I hope they do it well. I didn't. I mean, they didn't do anything with the Dune RPG that was particularly, strange, or because they did mention, like, in the early production, like representation and inclusion and things, and they didn't do anything so bizarre that it kind of disrupted the original source material. So we'll see. We'll see how they handle Homeworld, and I know there's a lot of fans that have a deep connection to this game, its story and setting. So I don't know. I don't know if some of those things will be fun to play out on the tabletop, and if they do have good, rules for space combat and spaceships, and also the travel itself. So we'll see. But this has been talked about for a while, and maybe it's been delayed. The release has been delayed because of everything. But I've seen Homeworld floating around on the Modiphius site for a while. So this will be our first taste of what the game is like. Everything except character creation, which is probably something they can't do in a quick start, because usually they do life path. The 2D20 system usually does life path and things that are a lot of rules, and it's a lot of material for them just to give away. So yeah, coming in May. So I'll put a link so you can, if you want to pre-order that, or also a link to the quick start if you just want to see kind of how they handled the rules. But they did get some of the original artists to do work for these books, and I think even like the cover art, they touted it was one of the original artists for the game. So that can't be a bad thing. So we'll have to see what they do. Their books are always nice, very substantial, and and like we talked about with Star Trek, they really modified the 2D20 rules to fit that setting well. I mean, we didn't feel it worked as well like with something like Conan, and the jury is still out. I think we have to get it to the table beyond that quick start. We played the Desert Fall, the quick start that they gave, that had very limited. We had just a little bit of combat and a little bit of social, but we didn't get to really road test the rules very well. So hopefully we'll get a better try at that to see how well that fit the Dune. I think that's a much trickier setting to try to fit, because you've got a lot of things going on, and the intrigue and combat need to be balanced, because it's a much more brutal. Star Trek, like, that whole system was geared towards don't shoot first. It's negotiate. It's think your way out of things. And Dune is a lot more brutal, especially if you're dealing with Fremen culture, or just the clash between the houses. It's just brutal violence, and it's not going to be hold your fire. It's going to be a lot of quick with the knives. So I don't know. This is going to be another big IP though for Modiphius. So Homeworld is coming. So May we'll have the full rules, and I'll have to see if we can get a review copy. I'd like to see the full rules a little early and kind of give you guys a little preview of what they did with it. But so and check out the game. If you don't know Homeworld, this would be a good opportunity to download the. They did a remaster of the game, which I've heard they didn't screw anything up. Like, they didn't change anything too terribly, so that it moved away from the original feel of the game. But just to get a feel from the story, or there's some great YouTube videos for the lore and kind of setting and storyline, if you just want to only spend an hour or two familiarizing yourself. But yeah, another big tabletop RPG coming out. Another big 2D20. So yeah, Dune and now Homeworld. Yeah, the Modiphius has got some big IPs, and we'll have to see how the reviews go with this. But nice. Oh, and something here. Let me look this up really quick. See, this is super unprofessional when you're doing this from home. I don't feel the need to be as professional. Right. Oh wait, let me get let me get this back here. So there was a Kickstarter that just came out that I actually got a message from one of the patrons, Matt. Hey, Matt, about that, and it's by Restoration Games. So it was, and Restoration Games is the company that did Return to Dark Tower. So that's supposed to be fulfilling. It was supposed to go out the end of December, but I think they've had some more delays. And if they're going to run into any Chinese New Year, that's going to delay it even more. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But the the thing that I'm trying to find, so their latest Restoration Games' latest restored game looks really good. See, Googling stuff on while recording is not great. Yeah, so Thunder Road, that's right. So they're doing a Thunder Road Vendetta, which is kind of like a Mad Max kind of car combat highway, and it's done really well because you've got highway tiles that you just keep as you move off of one. You have this endless highway that you're moving down, but it looks really good the way that they did the work on it, and kind of like reimagined the setting of the game. So we'll have to see. And this is another one that there was definitely, and I think they did, their first one was the Fire Island, or what was the one that has the volcano with the boulder that rolls down. I think that was the first one that they did, so they had to like do that big vacuum form board. But yeah, this one looks really well done too, and it has a ton of expansions and things to add to it. So like it's got like a $50 core game, and then you can get the full experience, all the material that they develop for it. So yeah, I'll link that up too in the description. But yeah, they did an interesting job. The dice mechanics and everything look really fun. The only thing, I mean, because it is a board game, the cars they're color coded and not like incredibly, they look nice, but not like insanely detailed. Like, a lot of board games have some, crazy pre-painted stuff and things you've seen now. But it definitely, if you're like a Gaslands fan or anything, this will definitely scratch that itch in kind of board game ways. So yeah, Thunder Road Vendetta is up by is on Kickstarter from Restoration Games, and they were interestingly were in negotiations with, I believe it's Chaosium, that had the HeroQuest rights. So they were negotiating with them to get the rights to HeroQuest. So it would have been a Restoration Games re-release and kind of remake of HeroQuest. But I think Hasbro got, word of it and threw probably much more money at it than Restoration Games could have for the rights. And unfortunately, maybe they paid more for the rights, but they didn't pay more for the production of the board game, because I was really not impressed at all with the quality of the components and even the box itself and everything for the HeroQuest re-release. And they stripped out the fun, the Games Workshop kind of Citadel miniatures, that very early, like, very flat pose, the kind of retro fantasy miniatures. They didn't have anything like that. It kind of, the sculpts got updated to a, like a World of Warcraft looking fantasy, very generic fantasy. So it lost a lot of its feel. I think Restoration Games would have tried to keep a retro fantasy RPG feel to it. So it's a shame. It's a shame they didn't get the chance to do it. But it would have gone on Kickstarter. Well, I guess HeroQuest went on the Hasbro Kickstarter, Hasbro crowdfunding. But it would have gone on Kickstarter, and maybe the production time would have been a bit longer. But that's a shame. I really would have liked to see what Restoration Games would have done with Hero Quest, because I really like what they did with Dark Tower. They really made some interesting changes to the setting and made, because the game itself is, kind of the original Dark Tower. It's interesting because you've got this little, computer making decisions in the middle and lighting up and playing music and stuff, but basically everyone is playing 4 separate board games. So if there's 4 players, you're sitting next to each other playing 4 separate board games, so it's a race to conquer the Dark Tower. But other than that, there's not a lot of player interaction, so I think they solved that with Return to Dark Tower. But but Thunder Road looks great. The mechanics and everything look really fun, so hopefully it'll be another hit for Restoration Games. They do a good job of kind of reimagining things, or just kind of pushing things in the right direction. So hopefully that will go well. And that's all I had for this week. So hopefully we'll have 2 voices having a discussion instead of a monologue with Googling and coffee drinking. I apologize to the podcast listeners if any of that sounds miserable. But we'll be back next week. And check out Hive Mind with Y's instead of I's on itch.io and Twitter. I said Twitch last week, I believe, so Chris is not on Twitch. unless it's us, unless we are on Twitch. But Chris doesn't have a Twitch channel. And so you can see what Chris is up to on Twitter with game design. And I think recently doing Sludge, the Perry miniatures came in. And so you can see some of the kind of kit bashed sludge soldiers that Chris was working on. That was the last thing I saw, I think, on Instagram. So both Instagram and Twitter are Hive Mind, Y's instead of I's. And you can always tune in if you want to hear more of me talking to myself. I mean, talking with you. I do a solo cast of my single panel gag cartoon. So Domestic Abuse is a cartoon I've been drawing for 20 years now. And you can find it on gocomics.com/domestic abuse, and Abuse Cartoons is the account on both YouTube and Twitch, and on all social media, Twitter and every place is Abuse Cartoons. And so that's basically me drawing my cartoon and kind of talking through the process and getting some input from the chat, because sometimes I'm just, when it comes to writing, the writing part, I'm locked up or have really bad ideas. So it's fun to bounce things off the chat, and people always have really interesting suggestions. And then I always do a little weird thing from a Japanese convenience store, so I try to bring in some random oddities that I find here in Japan, so you guys can have a little Japanese culture and watch me eat a very bizarre some wasabi chocolate snack, some bizarre dried fish or something, and just talk about whatever's going on. But it's a fun time. The chat is really great at Abuse Cartoons, so check that out if you'd like a nice hang. And we will be back. I hopefully say we will be back next week, so hopefully Chris and I will be able to run through some topics next week. But if not, I'll man the fort. I just hope nobody figures out that it's only me barring the gates. But that's right. This week, I just glanced I shouldn't glance at the chat until I finish the podcast. Yeah, there was Mossburger flavored potato snacks last time on the Abuse Cartoons live stream. So fun stuff. So everyone, take care. And we'll be back next week. Please visit upturntable.com for everything that we do as far as actual plays, downloads, reviews. Everything is findable on that site. We have the YouTube and Twitch channel for Upturned Table, as well as anything, all the social media. You can find us at Upturned Table. And if you'd like to support the cast and be a weakling, one of the strongest of all supporters, please visit patreon.com/upturntable. So we'll do this again next week, and hopefully there will be some good stuff to talk about, and we'll do maybe a little catch up, and I'll remind Chris of anything that we talked about that that feedback would be appreciated on, and we'll see everybody next week. So thanks for joining us, or me, and see you again next time. Goodbye. All right. So now is the Patreon only segment where we take a look at the chat. So yeah, it's good to see everyone. So let's see. Yeah, drinking coffee on stream. Sorry about that, guys. I'm yeah, totally. So the cartoon stream, I'm always, because it's sometimes 3 to 4 hours. I'm always drinking something to stay stay motivated. But oh yeah, Matt said, yeah, confusing RuneScape and Rune Wars. That's right. Yeah, yeah. RuneScape has been around. I'm surprised they haven't done more with that IP, because a lot of people have a fondness for the thousands of hours they put into it in the early aughts. But yeah, that's crazy. Matt says hard pass on the baby RPG. I don't know. There's sometimes where people do RPGs. The audience is hard to figure out for that, because it feels like just a recipe for disaster, as far as like everyone's gonna be as annoying as possible at the table. And I guess, if you want a family friendly, but they kind of pitch it as, it's safe. It's not, they don't say family friendly, but kind of kids safe. So there's nothing in it that will be upsetting, but just the kind of saccharine. I mean, I had a toothache just reading the description of the setting and everything. But yeah, I thought I couldn't resist, and the child endangerment aspect I thought would be fun to bounce off of Chris. But yeah, there's occasionally you get those where, and I think some people have the best intentions trying to bring the hobby, to families that maybe aren't familiar with it, or something that you could actually like introduce kids with. But you can do that with D&D. I mean, it's not, you don't need anything special. You can just kind of tailor a game to, to take blood out of it and take violence out of it. It's not hard to instead of having people do, or having kids doing death saves, to just have them do, knocked out. They have them do their knocked out rolls or whatever. So we'll see. Oh yeah. Miguel said, GOG and Steam usually have good sales on the Homeworld games if you're interested. And I think they do have like a bundle too. Maybe GOG has a bundle of Homeworld. So keep an eye out if you want to try that game out. Yeah, definitely buy it and support it. Don't don't mysteriously download it. It's well worth supporting that company. Yeah. So quality. Yeah, that's right. Matt said Modiphius does good quality stuff. But yeah, 2D20. Yeah, it's true, because someone had mentioned in the comments last week, when I think it was. Oh, it was the One Ring. Yeah, they were talking about the One Ring, how some of the mechanics kind of got in the way, and it was a little over designed. So stripping some of that out, making it a little more rules light, made it more fun. So people have kind of gone. I've heard both sides. Like the mechanics work really well. It fits really well, really thematic. And then someone else said that it kind of got in the way and was distracting. And I can see both sides, but 2D20 is kind of notorious for that. Like the 2D20 itself. Rolling for successes with that is not a bad mechanic, but it always includes momentum and doom and things. So there's like two economies, like a player economy and a game master economy of points that are accumulating during a session, and you really have to get some experience with that to know how to play that. Otherwise, if the points, if it's a little too generous, if you're being too generous with the points for the players, they can subvert every decision you're making with those point spends. And if you're accumulating too much of the GM currency, you can just punish players with wave after wave of reinforcements and things that may not be appropriate to that part of the campaign or whatever. So, and they do sometimes in the adventures say, the game master is going to want to save all of their points for this point of the conflict, this point of the battle or whatever. So, the GM should have at least 5 points in the, I forget what it's called. I can only think of Conan. It's Doom in Conan, but I can't think of what it is in Star Trek or anything else. But it's kind of a points, and you can put them outside of the GM screen so they can see the pool, how the pool is building up. And it's a shared momentum, and things are a shared points that all players can draw from. So it kind of helps with bad rolls and things. So you don't get this sort of things that happen, like in 5e or whatever, where you've got a whole round of people just miss, 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 miss. Okay, one more time. You miss, 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 miss. You can actually keep things moving forward by having, some, either guaranteed successes or additional die rolls and things. But that is a little bit distracting. It's like keeping it's pulling the GM and the players into like counting. You're looking at the table and okay, we got 5. Okay, so if I spend 2, and it's not very immersive, and so a little bit over designed. So I can see the criticism there. I ran the first adventure in Mutant Chronicles 2D20. Didn't run into any. I mean, I was a little distracted by looking at the points, but it didn't run into any problems where it made it too easy or too hard. It's just another thing to keep track of. And in Star Trek it worked okay. Yeah, but yeah, but the players were pushing pretty hard. I think Chris, the Chicago Chris, when we were doing that quick start, was like overcharging, or like had some skill ability where they were rolling to make turn phasers into hand grenades. So basically they found a whole Federation ship crew that had been killed by Romulans, and they were grabbing all the phasers, and Chris was doing this engineering thing, was basically throwing phaser grenades. So it was acceptable within the rules, and spending those points to make that modification work was okay, but it was a creative use. But I think it was definitely pushing the system pretty hard. So we'll see. Yeah. So the Restoration Games Thunder Road definitely looks like some good Mad Max style action, and I love the Infinite Highway. I think that's a really great. That's the only thing that's but I guess you could do that. You could do that with Gaslands. I can't remember if there is a scenario for that, but Gaslands is more track based. But I think the Infinite Highway is a much more fun way to play that, where you're just trying to get somewhere and stuff's going sideways on your trip. Nice. But the collector's edition looks nice. Yeah, they do. Modiphius does do nice. The frustrating thing with at least the collector's ones I've seen, is it's just a cover upgrade. The actual pages are the same paper quality and everything. They don't do like a gilt edge or anything. Or actually, I don't have any. I haven't bought any. I've resisted buying this because it's usually like $50 extra. Like the price is usually a bit more. I've resisted, but yeah, they don't. I have because I got it very cheap, so I have the Mutant Chronicles collector's edition, and it's just like a faux leather with the Brotherhood symbol on it. But the contents itself are still the same quality as the core, as the standard book. So I don't think Modiphius does upgrades. A lot of other companies will, and I'm not sure, because I passed on the One Ring collector's edition too, and I don't know if anybody I know got it, but it looked nice. I mean, it looked beautiful because it was the 10th anniversary version, 10th anniversary of the original One Ring. So they were doing a special version for that, but I didn't see if they did the gilt edges or improve the paper quality, because that's worth paying for, but it's not often the case. And I know Modiphius doesn't. Nice. And Matt said they did Downforce restoration also. Oh, very good. Oh, interesting. Hey, Eisenhorn, how's it going? I have not. Yeah, that's right. There is an Alien board game. So Eisenhorn asked if you played the Aliens Another Day and the Glorious Core board game. I have seen that. So that's the official kind of licensed Alien. So I have Nemesis, the unofficial Alien type setting. But it's original enough. It's like different enough that I don't think you could say it's inspired by. But no, I keep looking at that. One of the miniatures channels that I watch had painted up those miniatures and was playing that. I didn't watch enough of the rules, but the miniatures look decent. and it's one of those board games that has a bunch of expansions. You can add a bunch of things to it. But no, I've never, I haven't played it, but I keep seeing it. So if I can find it for a good price, although shipping, here ruins every decent bargain out there. But the yeah, that looks tempting. I'm curious, especially that when you're playing all Colonial Marines. So Matt said I could totally see Critical Role doing a one shot where they play babies. And forget to credit, yeah, babies and broadswords. Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, that's the. I think that's what some of those games are done for. Is the theater kids, kind of performative, like look at me, improv kid that wants to play a tabletop game. That's what some of those funky settings are done for. Is just people that want to be annoying at the table. Yeah, I don't know. I could think of a lot of other things I'd rather be doing than playing babies with swords and magic. Oh yeah, it's really cringy. I wanted I wanted to talk about it for Chris's reaction. So, and it's this company's first game, so good luck to them, and I hope they find an audience with it, because there's definitely people that want to play silly things, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be at our table anytime soon. Yeah, I'm gonna swap that out on one of these. When we're back to regular game nights, I'll swap that out on the table. And actually, tonight we're playing. Oh, that's really brutal. Oh, hey, before I get too far, let me not forget to do the little moment of silence. So give me a few seconds here to take this sound out of the podcast, so everybody can enjoy the sound of my voice instead of the sound of my air conditioner. There we go. Everyone's favorite segment, because I'm not vamping the whole time. Trying to think of something to say. All right. Well, it's good to see everybody in the chat, and thanks again for joining me on a solo cast. And thanks, Matt, for the tip about the Thunder Road Kickstarter. It looks really good. Whoa! And they're already up to 500,000 US. Yeah, they got a lot of. Yeah, I think. I mean, I haven't seen the actual components, the actual quality of the Restoration Games stuff, but from everything they've revealed and all the photos and stuff they sent, it looks good. So I'm really looking forward to getting Return to the Dark Tower. That'll be a fun game to play, and that's their new version. So instead of just keeping track of the battles and how many food and how many troops, it actually like pukes out these skulls, these little plastic skulls, into your land. So there's like a corruption mechanic, and the tower itself, like kind of like as an unholy slot machine, is just belching skulls into your different territories. So yeah, I can't wait to see how that goes, and I hope their engineering of the actual tower itself hangs in there, and it's actually sturdier, at least sturdier than the original Dark Tower. I don't know. It's somebody did release a fix, like a new gear, that they retooled a gear or something that you can buy to bring your old Dark Towers back to life. But the components they use for that original tower, I think the gears, like they've lost their teeth. Just the plastic gears inside that rotate the tower got stripped, pretty easy, and so a lot of the original towers don't work anymore. But somebody did a Flash version. If you want to see the original like sounds and game mechanics of original Dark Tower, I think well, hopefully they converted it to HTML5 or Java, but there was a Flash version. Hopefully it's a Java version now of the interface for the original Dark Tower you could actually use. It had the same logic and everything. That's right, I forgot. Flash is non-existent. Wow. Yes, but yeah, so we'll do this again next week. Thanks again for everybody hanging in. And yeah, we will. I'll follow up on everything. I really want to get a copy of the Heart of Darkness too. I really like those adventurous. So hopefully we'll get that either physical or digital. We'll get that game going. I think I'm gonna have to do for Twilight 2000 do a Foundry account. So I'll download the digital assets for Twilight 2000 and see how those work in the game. But I know, yeah, that just makes everybody feel old and like, oh, that's right, I had that original game. Yeah, these remakes, and it's really hard to get your head around. Yeah, so Matt said that he had the original as a kid. That's the kind of thing when you realize, wow, so there are people that were born so recently that like their version of Star Wars is the sequel trilogy, and their version of Dark Tower will be the Return to Dark Tower. No, there's just going to be so many things that lose their context. Yeah, that it's like why do people care about this? It's kind of like how the Chinese feel about Star Wars. They're just like, why do we want to watch these old people acting out these roles that we didn't care about, because those original movies were never released there, so there is zero nostalgia for those films. So it's very funny when you just have these like missing gaps of pop culture knowledge. All right, so join me next week for some Abuse Cartoons live stream if you're up for it, and otherwise hopefully Chris and I will be back together next week. And thanks again for everybody in the chat. It was really fun to hang out with you guys and get your feedback. I hope some of the stuff we're seeing in the release future will actually be done well. But yeah, and click those links in the description to support the channel and give us a chance to buy the more versions of stuff to review. All right, take care, everyone. See you again next week. Goodbye.